Have you ever thought about what a logical proof really is? We tend to think of it as, a math problem. But what if it was less like homework and more like a competitive sport? We're about to dive into an idea that kind of flips our whole understanding of logic on its head. So get ready. No, I'm serious. Really think about that for a second. We usually picture logic as this quiet, solo activity, right? Someone scribbling in a notebook, connecting the dots. But what if proving something was a head-to-head competition? A game with rules, players, and, most importantly, a clear winner? Well, that is exactly the framework we're exploring today. It's this way of thinking where logic isn't some static list of rules you memorize, but a dynamic, interactive game.
And here it is. This is the core idea right here. In this world, a logical argument is only considered proven if one player has a guaranteed, absolutely unbeatable strategy to win the game. It's a total shift in how we think about what it even means to be logical.
So, how does this game actually work? Who are the players? What are they trying to do? And what does it take to actually win? Let's break down the rules of engagement.
Okay, so let's get formal for a second. What is a dialogue game? Well, it's a system where a statement's truth isn't just a given. Instead, you figure it out based on the outcome of a really structured debate. If one side has a foolproof winning strategy, no matter what the other side does, then the argument is considered valid. Simple as that. Every game needs players, right? This one has two. First up, you've got the proponent. Their job is to defend a conclusion. And facing them is the opponent. Now, the opponent's role is what makes this so fascinating. They have to agree with all the starting facts, the premises. They can't argue with those. Their only job is to poke holes in the reasoning, to find any weak link in the chain that connects those facts to the proponent's conclusion. So let's walk through how a round plays out. First, the opponent says, okay, I accept all your starting points. Then, the proponent makes their claim, their conclusion. Then, the opponent jumps in, whoa, wait a minute, and challenges one specific step in the logic. After that, the proponent has to defend that exact step. And this back and forth keeps going until it becomes clear that the proponent can defend against any possible attack. That's when you know they have an unbeatable winning strategy. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. This is the most critical point. The rules of this game aren't just testing some logic that already exists out there. The rules are the logic. If you change the rules for how you can attack or defend, you literally change the entire system of logic you're working in. It's a completely different way of looking at reason itself. Now, this isn't just some fun philosophical thought experiment. This very specific set of rules produces a very specific and pretty famous type of logic. So, what kind of logic actually emerges when you play the game this way? Just think about that. If no matter what the opponent throws at them, no matter which part of the argument they question, the proponent has a perfect countermove ready, what does that really tell us about the strength of their argument? And the answer is so cool. A guaranteed winning strategy for the proponent is the exact same thing as a formal proof in what's called intuitionistic or constructive logic. Now, this is a much stricter kind of logic than what we normally use. In classical logic, you can prove something is true by just showing that its opposite is a contradiction, but not here. In constructive logic, you have to actually build the proof, step by step. You have to show a concrete path to the answer, just like our proponent has to in the game. This might all sound really abstract and philosophical, but this game-based view of logic has some incredibly powerful real-world applications, especially in places like computer science and AI. Let's see how it goes from a simple dialogue to the digital world. So, why does all this matter? Well, for one, we can use these game rules to program machines to argue with each other rationally. Think about a team of AI agents trying to coordinate a task. They can use these principles to debate options and persuade each other. It's being used to build protocols for debate, to create theories of persuasion for AI, and it's even being applied in unbelievably complex fields like quantum modal logic. And here's a perfect real-world example for you: the Parma protocol. It's a system built directly on these ideas. It's basically a formal rulebook that lets software agents rationally propose, attack, and defend what they want to do. It allows them to coordinate on their own, to make group decisions without any of us having to step in. Now, it's also important to know that dialogue games aren't out there all alone. They're actually part of a much bigger family of ideas that all use game theory to get a handle on logic, on computation, and even on what words mean. Just take a look at this. You've got dialogue games where logic is a debate,
Then there's computability logic, where truth is defined as an algorithm winning a game. In philosophy, you've got this idea that the meaning of a sentence is just the rules of the language game you play with it. Even in pure math, they use these special games to figure out if two complex mathematical structures are identical. The common thread here is this incredibly powerful idea that strategy and interaction can define some of our most abstract concepts.
So, look, if you take just one thing away from all this, let it be this. This framework completely changes what a proof is. It goes from being a static thing written on a page to a dynamic, interactive process. A proof isn't something you have, it's something you do. It's a perfect, unbeatable strategy in the game of logic. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If we start thinking about arguments as games, with rules and objectives, it forces us to ask a much deeper question, doesn't it? What does it actually mean to play fair? What does it mean to argue in good faith? Something to think about.